living. People dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. And Northern Light Center for Spiritual Living offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. Our promise here is to reveal, inspire, uplift, celebrate, and magnify your greatness. We acknowledge our presence here on the traditional and unceded lands of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Coastal Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to life their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. In a similar fashion, we acknowledge how much of what we know in this country today, including culture, economic growth, and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their descendants who suffered the horrors of transatlantic trafficking, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We also name the Asian and Chicano people who toiled with little recognition. We are indebted to their labors and sacrifices, and we acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and resulting impacts that can still be felt and witnessed today. Please join me for our opening song, In This Very Room, by Ron and Carol Harris. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. For Spirit is in this very room. This very And now we come to the part of our service where we practice the meditation, one of a variety of spiritual practices available to us. So for meditation, just allow yourself to get comfortable wherever you are. Allow yourself to become aware of the support of the chair, aware of the feel of the air on your skin, aware of the rise and fall of your chest with each breath in and each breath out. And with this awareness, let us attend to our connection with this universe. And our bodies are made from the very same stuff as stars, as the earth upon which we walk. When we imagine a beautiful scene, part of what happens with that experience of beauty is that recognition. There's something within us that can see the beauty there. And what if we raise the question that that recognition is like looking in a mirror? That the beauty that we see around us is reflecting our own capacity to recognize beauty, to encounter beauty, to be one with beauty. Science of mind teaching lean into the religious traditions, acknowledging one great source. And this one great source is continually giving of itself. Creation is continually unfolding from this one great source, through this one great source. And again, with each breath in, allow ourselves to sense our connection with this one. We've been designed to be able to take in breath and to breathe out breath. We've been designed to be able to look at other people and hold them with love and appreciation. There's a natural inclination that when you see a little baby or you see a small animal, there's just a sense of appreciation. Each of us at one time was that small baby. When we get up in the morning and we look in the mirror, and we may want to make some changes. What if we look past beyond what we originally see and look with appreciation at that little newborn that came into the world? What if we allow ourselves to imagine ourselves as being newborn in each moment? The Buddhists teach the practice of beginner's mind. What if we let go of all of our old stories, connections to outdated, unappealing notions of ourselves, and we let come into focus a sense of awe and wonder and appreciation? We are connected to the one source. We are the means through which the one source makes itself known. As we look at ourselves with newfound appreciation, how do we look around us at the people in our lives with a similar appreciation? There's an Italian word, what if we look at ourselves as a treasure that we are? So I know this is a little early in the service, but I'm proposing that as life work for this week, considering the treasure that we are, considering the treasure in each person, in each moment around us. So as you feel ready, allow yourself to become present again to the room. You may want to stretch, wiggle your fingers or toes, open your eyes. And in this shared space, I say Amen, Ashe, and so it is. And we have our declaration. Please join me. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. And finally, we are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. So it is. So today's reading comes from Brene Brown, her book, Braving the Wilderness, pages 69 to 70. There are always boundaries, even in the wilderness. When we commit to getting closer, we're committing to eventually experiencing real face-to-face conflict. Whether it's over dinner, at work, or in the grocery line, in-person conflict is always hard and uncomfortable. And when it comes to family, it's even harder and more painful. If your family is anything like mine, you've been required to summon love and decency in the face of emotions that range from minor frustration to rage. Maintaining the courage to stand alone when necessary in the midst of family or community or angry strangers feels like an untamed wilderness. When I get to the point where I'm like, screw this, it's just too hard, I'm too lost, I let myself hear Maya Angelou's words again. The price is high, the reward is great. But here's a question that came up for me during this research. Where is the line? Is there a line in the wilderness between what behavior is tolerable and what isn't? The reward may be great, but do I have to put up with someone tearing me down or questioning my actual right to exist? Is there a line that shouldn't be crossed? The answer is yes. Participants who put true belonging into practice talked openly about their boundaries. In fact, this research confirmed what I found earlier in my work. The clearer and more respected the boundaries, the higher the level of empathy and compassion for others. Boundaries, less openness. It's hard to stay kind-hearted when you feel people are taking advantage of you or threatening you. And so it is.
Good morning. And I want to wish everyone, mothers particularly, and we are all mothers in some ways, giving birth to different things, different creations. But I want to particularly express my gratitude for the mothers that I've had in my life. The one that gave me birth, And the other ones that have been great influences. I've had 3 really good mother-in-laws. And they were like mothers. They were authentic and they're missed. And so, in honor of mothers, I have a song. If I can look at that, right there it is. To share, I really like this this group, and this kind of sums it all up.
On with one of our favorites, and I hope it's also one of your favorites too. I would.
Temporary paralysis here. Yeah, I love that. I go to the words and I see the words and they fit some of them so well. I know my mother and I, we had some rough times, but I'm grateful for having the time after we got through those rough times to have healed the wounds and healed all the stuff that I caused, a lot of it. So today we're going to talk about boundaries, about healthy boundaries and healthy connections. How can a center serve as a nexus of community and connection in our fragmented world? What is the value of a shared life at a time of radical individuality? How can we balance the tension between fostering a community of belonging and the need for boundaries? Who's the insider? Who's an outsider in this center or any center? What are the obstacles to creating an inclusive community today? One way is to create a safe and sacred space. As we examine the importance of setting boundaries in the areas of life, from personal relationships to work environments and social interactions, we will seek effective ways to communicate and maintain boundaries that protect our well-being and cultivate a healthy, balanced relationships. Setting and maintaining boundaries are vital for honoring our spiritual journey and safeguarding our mental and emotional well-being. Talk about boundaries. Each state has their boundaries. Yet we're all part of one country. In theory. This is all theory. No. But in some ways we're so divided, and those boundaries seem to divide us more than I think any time in history almost. Because we are part of the one, yet we still maintain our own community as a state. Each state has their own rules, has their own, way of doing things. Yet we have the mothership, telling us, setting rules. So boundaries can be, hard things, and they can be giving and connecting things, because the boundaries connect each one of us to state to another state. Well, except for Alaska and Hawaii, they're kind of out there. Boundaries are not just about keeping negativity out. They create a sacred space for personal growth and alignment with our highest self. By establishing clear boundaries, we nurture our soul's evolution. allowing us to thrive and build healthy relationships. When we set boundaries, we show ourselves love and compassion. Without them, we may invite resentment and trauma into our lives and relationships, leading to emotional blockages. So we set these boundaries for ourselves. By consistently realigning with our intentions, our values, and goals, we can honor our needs while approaching others with love. Boundaries do not separate us. They create space for each of us to be authentic. So we have our boundaries. And within those boundaries, we can be exactly who we are, exactly who we came to be. And that's one of the reasons for boundaries. To allow ourselves to be. They create a space for each of us to be authentic. Divine selves, sharing in unity as unique expressions of the divine. Each of us, our boundaries, our boundaries in some ways are our bodies, our bodies. But then we have these boundaries we need to set, like you're in my space. That's one of the things that drives me nuts. People get right. Why do they have to talk to you in your face? It's creepy for me anyway. Boundaries are not about exclusion. They are an essential expression of self-respect and self-love. By having your boundaries, you're honoring yourself with self-love and respect. You're respecting yourself. If we let people walk all over us and be a doormat, that's not good. That's not healthy in any way, shape, or form. When we set boundaries, we establish the conditions necessary for our well-being. Each of us have different ideas of what's good for us and what's not. So we have to set these boundaries to protect ourselves, to support ourselves, which allows us to maintain healthy, balanced relationships. I mean, relationships sometimes can be, friendships or relationships, sometimes they can be so one-sided. So, like you have to be the constant giver all the time. That's not healthy. So a relationship in whatever way, shape, or form, whether it's a love relationship, a family relationship, a work relationship, because those are all very important in our lives. Because one thing about work, we spend a lot of time there. I mean, and if you have a rotten relationship, it can be miserable. Science of Mind teaches that everyone is a unique expression of the one mind, deserving of respect and love. Setting boundaries affirms our worthiness of care, protection, and respect. By establishing clear boundaries, we create a space for our authentic selves to grow and thrive. If we have these boundaries that are safe and sacred, you cannot help but thrive. If we hold those boundaries tight. Healthy relationships rely on mutual respect and understanding. Mutual respect. Honoring each other and with respect. And that's so many times you see, that's why nowadays I do not like to use the word that I was nice talking to you. I like to say, I do say, it's been nice talking with you. Because that means it's a conversation, that you're listening, and that they're listening, hopefully. talking to you, to me, I finally realized that it's like talking down to a kid or something, or like you're scolding somebody, and what they were talking with, to me, is a much warmer way to say that. By establishing boundaries, we set expectations that help prevent misunderstandings and conflicts, ensuring our interactions remain supportive and enriching. Misunderstandings. In some ways, that's why I don't like text messages and sometimes emails either, because you can read so much into there, what the person has written, and it's like, what did they say? And if you actually talk to them, that isn't what you read in there, wasn't what they meant or what they actually said. So that's where you have to have a relationship where you can be open and ask questions, inquire, because inquiring minds not only want to know, but they need to know. You need to clarify things. Sometimes I'll hear Reverend Vaughn say something, and it's like, huh? And then you have to ask for clarifications, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. Boundaries clarify roles, responsibilities, and needs in both personal and professional relationships, fostering an environment of respect and cooperation. There's that word, respect again. There is so much disrespect, in my opinion, in the world today that it's sad. It's just extremely, it's bad. I can't think of a word that I could say. If we would only learn to respect and give the respect that we expect in return, that's the whole thing. We want to be respected. We want to belong. We want. Sounds like the song. However, the other person deserves the same thing: the respect, the honoring, the listening to. By voicing our limits, we align our intentions with our values, enabling us to honor ourselves and others. This creates a space where relationships can thrive, grounded in trust and mutual respect. Honoring that other person, honoring the relationship that you have, honoring the connections that you have with a single individual, with a group of individuals. Learning to honor that and honor their boundaries also. Boundaries nurture meaningful connections by ensuring that everyone involved feels valued and respected. By honoring our own needs and those of others, we foster relationships that are not only healthy, but also aligned with our highest intentions. What are our intentions? Establishing boundaries is essential for spiritual growth. They safeguard our mental and emotional well-being, creating the space necessary to focus on our spiritual practices and personal development. So we need to have boundaries around that so we can develop our spiritual practices, because we all don't do the same spiritual practices. Some, like one thing like meditation, some people can't, they say, I can't do that. I can't sit and be still. Well, there's many types of meditation, so that takes a little research and checking out, or asking another person. But certain ones are dear to us, and they're part of our daily practice. So by establishing the boundaries, we can focus more on what we're doing, the spiritual practice that we're participating in. By setting clear boundaries, excuse me, by by setting up clear boundaries, we protect ourselves from distractions and negative influences that can divert us from our spiritual path. There's a lot of things that can, I know for me, divert me. You know, all of a sudden I'm here and then, oh, I'm over there. So when I'm practicing my spiritual practices, that's a time of focusing and setting boundaries on, say, even time that you're going to do it, to take it and be selfish. I mean, spiritual practice is selfish. It has to be selfish. Because if you don't make it selfish, then you can't share it with the rest of the world. Boundaries also serve to align our highest selves. When we protect our time and energy, we can better focus on what truly matters, our spiritual journey. That's one thing this week when they elected a new pope. I'm not Catholic. I have never been Catholic. But it was exciting to see this individual and to learn about, like, when he was a child, when he was a kid. One brother said he would set up the ironing board and put a cloth over, and that was the altar. You know, he was having service. At that young age, kind of committing to his spiritual beliefs. It was to me, it was an exciting moment because, you know, I like the last pope, and I think I'm going to like this guy better. Boundaries serve to align with our highest selves. Through this practice, we create an environment that supports our growth, allowing us to live in a greater harmony with ourselves and the world around us. When we set our boundaries, we know where we're at. We know where we're setting. Most of us would agree that setting effective boundaries is essential. Some people, they don't care about your boundaries, but that's their business. Your boundaries are your business. And if someone crosses your boundaries, that's your responsibility to let them know. Not scream and yell at them, but just let them know that, you know, I have certain boundaries, I have certain convictions, I have certain values. And that action or those words you spoke do not fit into my boundaries. Boundaries can protect us, can provide a sense of security and enhance our self-esteem. They are crucial for helping you prioritize yourself and discover greater freedom. You have boundaries. I think, you know, freedom is a great thing to have. But if you're trapped in certain things, you're not free. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yet many people still struggle to establish and maintain the boundaries necessary for a fulfilling life. You may develop these, but you need to maintain them, to sustain them, to keep them going, to remember what they are. And they may change over a period of time because we change. Our life situations change. We get older, you know, we move forward in life. And so naturally, I would assume that your boundaries can, you know, it might have to be tweaked a little bit. I have, here's a checklist I found online, and I'll send it out with the rest of it, but it's a checklist that can serve as a reminder that you have the power, that we have the power in each situation to choose how we will react and what to do next. So the first one is, a boundary is a limit that you set to define what you will and will not do, or what you will or will not accept or tolerate from others, like verbal abuse, physical abuse. Those are something I think should be boundaries of everyone. By not setting boundaries, you abandon your true self. The consequences include squandering this life you've been given by not living it to the fullest, giving your life away. You are not the one crossing your own boundaries, or you are the one crossing your own boundaries. It's no one else's responsibility to see that your boundaries are not crossed. So it's up to us. The responsibility lies here. And the blame game, you blame anybody, I guess you have to blame yourself. You can't change others, how much you would like to, or force them to uphold your boundaries. They have their boundaries. Some of them may be the same. There may be no similarities, but each of us have our own boundaries, and we can't make them uphold ours. And sometimes you have to take that moment and check and see where you're going. You have a choice. The long-term pain of letting your boundaries be crossed versus the short-term discomfort of setting limits and keeping them. You have a choice. One of my favorite words. The long-term pain of letting your boundaries be crossed versus the short-term discomfort of setting limits and keeping them. So if you set them and keep them, the pain, is short, but there'll be pain of some sort. But to me, it's better to do it that way than to have it all long drawn out where you're miserable. And healthy selfishness, I'll get there with that. Healthy selfishness will be a game changer in your life. That's why I said it's a selfish thing, to have your boundaries. It is. I mean, I remember us being selfish and when I was first in AA, and they said that this program it's a selfish program. What? And then you have to think about it, and it is. Because in that situation, if you're not selfish, take care of yourself and become a healthier person, you're not good to anybody else. So it is a selfish approach, just like this. Say it again. Healthy selfishness will be a game changer in your life. Healthy. That's the key word too. Conflict can simply be the illumination of differences, as you can maintain relationships even if you agree to disagree. You can have a belief in one thing and the other person has a belief in another thing, and you like you said, you don't change people. You explain what it is. They listen. If they agree, they agree. If they don't, that's fine. I use that reference at one time that we're at our old location when I had this young Muslim woman come in, and I don't know a lot about the Muslim religion. And it was a great exchange for the time that she was there, the conversation, because I learned things, and I hope she learned some things, and we were able to exchange in a conflict-free conversation. What this woman from this article where I got this, she says, becoming a boundary badass means that you care at least as much about your own wants and needs as you do about anybody else's. there it is about caring for yourself, self-care. Self-care is so important. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help anybody else. Setting boundaries to protect, preserve, and exclude something. Your boundaries also allow you to select what you wish to welcome unconsciously. And let in what you want, but you're conscious about it. You're not just letting everything in. But you're thinking about it. Being conscious of who and what you want to have in your life. Your willingness to embrace the short-term discovery of setting boundaries is the gateway to achieving everything you desire in your life. Truth, connection, freedom, and belonging become available to you when you make your preferences your priority with courage and grace. To make your preferences a priority. Set your boundaries. Make that a priority in your life. Remember, when you set a healthy boundary, you say yes to you. And you're honoring yourself. That's what I like about this. And you're honoring yourself by saying yes. So, Reverend Vaughn already put out a little life work, which is fine. I want you to ask yourself this week, where in my life are boundaries necessary? Where do I need to set boundaries? Maybe everywhere, in every situation. But there's probably some that pop up right away. Identify what drains your energy. I like that. I've heard it used before, an energy suck. People that, there's people in your life that when they're around you or they call you or whatever, they're just like sucking the energy, like in Harry Potter movies when they suck your soul out, It's like, oh. So what drains your energy and what nourishes your soul? So what drains it and what nourishes? What feeds you? Once you identify those areas, communicate your boundaries clearly and remain firm in them. So make a list of, what feeds you, what drains you, and set boundaries around those situations. Remember, enforcing boundaries is crucial in self-respect. And that goes right along with what Vaughn said about consider the treasure that you are. Actually fits in quite nicely. So now we will go to our yes, the theme for the month is raise your voice. So sing aloud. So here's our affirmation for today. I set healthy boundaries with love and respect, fostering strong and supportive relationships. I set healthy boundaries with love and respect, fostering strong and supportive relationships. One time. I set healthy boundaries with love and respect, fostering strong and supportive relationships. And so it is. So I just want to sign out of Zoom here. But first, I just want to know that within your lives, you have boundaries already. I think we've had them all our lives, but sometimes they slip, slide. And I want to give thanks for you setting your boundaries. for taking care of yourself, for respecting yourself in all the situations where the idea about what feeds you and what's draining you. Because you don't need to be drained. You need to be fed. We need to be fed and filled up and spill it, because when we're filled up, then we can spill out to everyone around us. So I invite you to go and spill. Okay. So there, now that's done. So now we will go to a, oops.